The Canon EF 50mm f1.4 USM is the middle-tier standard large-aperture prime lens for Canon's EF mount, larger than the f1.8 and smaller than the f1.2. It got on my kit merely as a test unit against the top f1.2L that is still my go-to 50mm prime lens and was tested here on the 5D Mark II in 2014, despite being on the market since 1993. That's right, this 50mm f1.4 USM has over 20 years of market and raises a lot of questions about performance, or if it's worth being in your kit. At 7.4 by 5 cm of 290 grams of mostly plastics, a metal mount and a rubberized focusing ring, the EF 50mm f1.4 sits exactly in the middle of the lineup. Not as small as the f1.8, not as large as the f1.2. It's built around Canon's 1990s design school, with a smooth plastic finishing on the outside, prone to scratching, a single expandable cam inside that holds all the optics, and it's not as sturdy as the L lenses, that feels much more robust in hands. The usability is also straightforward with a single manual focusing ring that sports a full-time manual control, accessible to the user even when the autofocus switch is set to on. A distance window at the top good for manually focusing or doing video recordings, and all-electronic aperture and focus is standard of all EF lenses. Inside, Canon uses the lesser gear-type ultrasonic motor, not as fancy as the ring-type USM, and it generates a fair amount of noise while in operation, not recommended for video shooters. Here tested on the 5D Mark II center AF point, it was precise for everyday shots, and I simply didn't get any out-of-focus shots. It's Canon's main selling point till this day. Where it does fall short is the manual focusing operation, with a wobbly manual ring lagging with the internal focusing group, making it for a fairly imprecise manual operation. The top f1.2L series features a much better manual focusing ring and is also silent AF, better to the overall usability. Finally, at the front, the 50mm f1.4 USM fits 58mm filters fairly above the Earth's optical element, causing some flaring issues when used backlit. The filter also moves back and forth during focusing, needing readjustments when used with polarizers. At the rear, the metal mount feels secure for years of smooth operation, and Canon doesn't declare any form of weather sealing, make sure to cover it under rainy days. It also doesn't include any accessories in the box, and it's a fairly intermediate lens, made to sit in the middle of the EF lineup. With a double Gauss 7 elements in 6 groups optical formula, 2 high refraction glasses for high contrast and colors, and an 8-blade aperture for a smooth bokeh, what the Canon EF 50mm f1.4 USM delivers optically is nice. Not the best in class, but not the worst. Let's address the elephant in the room. This is a 1993 design made for shooting 135 format film that could tolerate most optical flaws, and not today's high-resolution image sensors that generate files that can easily be zoomed at 100% pixels, magnifying any optical shortcomings. So if you're using its photos for smaller formats like web output, social media, video and smaller prints, it can deliver great images full of color and high contrast, for a high impact experience expected from these larger optics. But no, it can't compete with newer lenses from Sigma, Nikon nor Sony, or even lesser third parties that all sport newer formulas and optics, resulting in better performance overall. So don't compare this Canon to newer products, it's just not meant to be a better-in-class equipment from a Canon EF lens. Wide open, this f1.4 USM suffers from a lot of astigmatism, making clear highlights like cat eyes around the frame's edges that destroy details. It's a much worse performance than more expensive and newer lenses like Sigma's 50mm f1.4 Art or Nikon's 58mm f1.G that are on a different level of performance and price. This 1993 Canon just can't compare. What it does pretty well is the quality of top-down images from f2.8 to f8, shining for its color science, great for everyday life and portraits, much better than most zooms in regards to image clarity and out-of-focus quality, all with good levels of aberrations, be it geometric or chromatic. The 8-blade aperture also guarantees smooth bokeh to isolate your subject even when backlit, with smooth gradients despite the extra element on the double Gaussian formula, giving a full-frame look for wide-open shots. It's just beautiful to see your subject against a blurred background. So overall, it's a straightforward performance from a lens you can depend on, setting your work apart from smaller apertures or even fake bokeh offered by today's smartphones. I decided to keep the f1.2L on my kit. That is a better overall lens with an edge on flexibility, mostly for its built and silent AF, so I sold this f1.4 USM right after the review. But I do believe it's a nice lens for those looking for that extreme low depth of field shots and looking for something better than the f1.8 offer. Just keep your expectations low and nice shooting.